We've had so many disappointments as Brewers fans, but tonight, for the fourth time in franchise history, the Brewers have won a playoff series and they move on. Talk about that next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Great to have you here with me. Late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freeman, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers. Normally, we don't do this on weekends, but as my promise is, we're doing these on weekends as long as the Brewers are alive. And here we are. The Brewers got it done tonight. Coming up, we'll tell you about how they got it done with their bullpen and what happens next for the Milwaukee Brewers. This was a rarity tonight. Yeah, only 4 times in Brewers history have they won a postseason series. They got the Dodgers, we saw in 2018. All that coming up here on Locked On Brewers. All right. Brewers never trailed tonight. They used 3 solo home runs to win this game. Contreras, and then the tie-breaking home run from Andrew Vaughn, one for good measures late night with Bryce Terang. But the story of this game was the bullpen. The story was the bullpen, and they open. And as you know, I don't like unconventional ways of going about doing business, because if something has worked for you, I always say, why try to repair something that doesn't need to be repaired, right? But the Brewers have done this, and being short Woodruff, this is what they have to do now. And we're going to see this. I don't know if this is going to be sustainable, but they started McGill tonight. All right. And he was great in the first inning. And I told you in yesterday's podcast, I said, Miz is going to play a big part in this. And he did. He came out and gave them 4 solid innings through 54 pitches, gave up a home run to Suzuki on his second pitch. And I know I can feel the anxiety among Brewers fans out there. I can feel it with you guys. But he bounced back, and he was terrific. And, you look at the rest of the guys. Ashby came in. He struggled a little bit. Patrick, how about Chad Patrick? He has been great in relief all season long. Makes that Abraham Toro trade look pretty good, doesn't it? Patrick goes an inning and 2/3, strikes out 3. And, in fact, I almost wanted him to come back for the 8th inning. But they brought in Uribe for a 2-inning save, and he went 2 innings, allowed 1 walk, and that was it. Uribe didn't strike out anybody, but he threw 22 pitches. Pretty economic in 2 innings, right? And Uribe got it done, and the Brewers pieced together and got the victory over the Chicago Cubs. Now, this was a series you had to win. This was a franchise-defining series victory. You can't lose this series. There was so much on the line. Even Murphy, when we talked to him after the game, he said, yeah, there was pressure on these guys. They had the 97 wins and all that. Franchise has not won, has not had a lot of postseason success. Okay. But yeah. And some of these guys, and Yelich said, yeah, well, some of these guys weren't here for some of these other playoff losses, right? 2018 and so on. And 2018, they got beaten Game 7 right here by the Dodgers, who they'll face next. And we'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. But I feel like the Brewers, because the fans are most important, I think. You had this fan base come out in each of the last several years. Well, for several years. But I think, 2 years ago, you get beat by Arizona in the first round, okay? And then your manager leaves in the offseason. He didn't really do a heck of a lot in the offseason. You signed Rhys Hoskins. And then you come back that next year under Pat Murphy, and you surprise everybody by winning the division title. So now you got 2 division titles in a row, Council and Murphy. But you let down, and you blew that game against the Mets here, and Devin Williams gave up the Alonso home run, and there was a lot of expectations, right? Again, a lot of expectations with the Brewers last year. Failure. So the team this year starts off 21-25 in May, not very good, but then they catch fire and end up winning 40 of 50 at one point, a 14-game winning streak, an 11-game winning streak, and They win 97 games, the best record in baseball. They have never had the best record in baseball ever. And fans were packing this place in September on a regular basis, 42,000 a night in September. Now, normally in September, we all are, unfortunately, not me, but a lot of people are thinking the Packers. All right. They're thinking the Packers. And that's what the focus is, right? But people were coming out here and still packing this place in September. And I'm like, oh, this team has got to win at least a playoff series. They're not done. I mean, I'm not satisfied with winning a playoff series, but you couldn't bust out in the first round. All right. You had such great fan support. And I feel like people were on board with this team. The fans were not that they weren't in the past couple of years, but I felt like since 2018, some of these guys have become household names on this team. This team was getting a lot of notoriety because they were winning baseball games. Every time, the common fan would turn on the TV set, oh, how the Brewers doing tonight? Well, they won. Well, how'd the Brewers go? Well, they're down, but they ended up coming back and hitting a couple late home runs and winning. They were down 5-0, and they came back and beat the Mets. I mean, so many. 11 walk-off victories here. They gave us so many magical moments during the regular season. You can't lose in your opening round playoff series. You got a first round bye, which we all wanted because you got busted out in the last 2 years by the Mets and Arizona in the wild card round. So we got what we wanted, advanced on to the divisional playoffs. Cubs beat the Padres, and here we are. And you win the first 2 games of that series. All right. And you're thinking, oh, man, in blowout fashion, really, both of those games. And you went down to Chicago and you couldn't get out of your own way. And I know the last couple of days, the messages I got from you guys and Brewers Twitter, thinking that the world was going to collapse. You didn't want to lose this series. You didn't want to lose to the Cubs because you erased a 6.5 game deficit on these guys and ended up winning the division title when it looked like they might run away with it. Turned out you pretty much ran away with it, the Brewers. There came that series in August, and they dropped, 3 of the 5 games, I think it was. And there was some pessimism. They won the season series, but the Brewers bounced back. Didn't have a great September, but they bounced back. So here we are. They lose 2 in Chicago, and it's like coming back home. We've seen this before. Team losing at home. 2001, the NLCS, losing to the Cardinals. 2018, losing to the Dodgers here at home. 2000 and, like I said, 23 to Arizona. Last year to the Mets. Many games losing at home, playoff series, seeing other teams celebrate on this field. And you didn't want to see the Cubs celebrate here. There was enough Cub fans here to begin with. I rode down on a shuttle, and I heard, some of these fans were starting to "Go Cubs, go" chant. We can't let that happen here in Milwaukee. We can't let those guys take over. And you couldn't lose this game. All right? We own those guys, Chicago, in so many ways, right? I mean, countless times. The Packers over the Bears, in even NFC championship games like they did in 2011. So here you faced them in the playoffs for the first time after pretty much taking care of them in the regular season, and you didn't want to crumble. And I'll tell you what, I think it was more sweet. It was sweeter, I would say, winning this series in a game 5 than it was sweeping these guys, because you got Cub fans getting, they had written their team off after 0-2, and now they thought they were going to come in here and win this game. And the Brewers ended up winning 3-1. I mean, they didn't crush them, but the Brewers, I thought their pitching dominated the game. And not using starting pitchers, using their bullpenning their way to a win over the Cubs. Fantastic. Man, it was a great day. And when the Brewer, there's something about being there or watching on TV when your team wins a playoff series. And when that final out was recorded tonight, there's just something that crosses your body. And it's like, wow. I mean, it's kind of emotional, isn't it? Because, I mean, as Brewers fans, we've been out here thousands of times, right? All our lives, watching other teams go to the postseason. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of we've been to the postseason 7 of the last 8 years, but before that, not a heck of a lot of postseason appearances. And like I said, this is only the fourth time they won a playoff series. So it's kind of emotional, I guess, to see your team win a playoff series. Got a long way to go. Hey, they haven't won anything yet. They just won this playoff series. They got the Dodgers coming up next, which we're going to talk about. But, man, this was a great step in the direction of maybe capturing that first championship. And I still think they could do it. I've never given up on that. I knew they were going to win today. I mean, I didn't know, but I was thinking. I was on some sports talk shows. I was on Sirius XM, and they asked me, my prediction. Of course, Brewers weren't going to lose this game. These guys have been fighters all year long, and some of the stuff we saw in Chicago, I was like, man, and they were stranding guys on base tonight. They were stranding guys on base again tonight. They left the bases loaded with Ortiz, and I know Ortiz, he always comes up with the bases loaded. I get it. And his batting average with that bases loaded is not good. Matt Arnold after the game said that Miz might be the MVP of this series of the NLDS. He might have been the MVP. Might have been. He was great. Miz called on to pitch 4 innings, gave up the home run, but bounced right back. And I thought Patrick was excellent. Uribe, McGill starting it off with a 1-2-3 first inning. How about that? Contreras homering. Vaughn, only his second home run since August 15th. And then Terang hits one to center field. Yeah, the postseason victories, 1982 against the Angels, 2011 against Arizona, 2018 against the Colorado Rockies. That was the last time. Colorado swept Colorado. And now 2025, beating the Cubs. Wow. All right, we're going to take a quick break, talk a little bit about what's ahead for the Brewers. What is ahead for the Brewers? And game 1 coming up on Monday already. Yeah, there's not much time to celebrate. These guys are celebrating, but not a heck of a lot of time. We'll talk about that coming up next year on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. The NFL season is here. Plenty of college games on Saturday. NHL underway. NBA preseason, you name it. But live betting really is FanDuel live betting is just terrific. It's easy to navigate around there. It's really, really easy to do. But right now, this is something special from FanDuel. You bet $5, you get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Anything you want on the live betting. Live betting is great. Maybe there's an underdog that our favorite that gets down early. Like, let's see, there was Ole Miss today in college football, a 33-point underdog. You could get them at a decent money line because they were down 10-7 at one point, 14-10, I think it was. And they rallied and got the victory. But just visit FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app. Get started. Again, take advantage of their offer right now with new customers. Put down $5 and it hits you. Unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app with FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. All right, Monarch Money also. Terrific sponsor here of Locked On Brewers. You want to know where you're spending your money? For us, we go out to eat way too much. Did it again on Friday night. But, it's up to you what you do with the results you get from Monarch Money. But they're going to track your investments. They're going to track your 401ks, your properties, everything. They're going to put it all in one easy-to-use format for you. It's all in one, a personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your desktop or your phone. Monarch is built for people who've got busy lives like you and I. Busy lives, sometimes you let your financial situation go, where your paycheck's going. Like I said, with us, we eat out too much. But don't miss this opportunity right now because right now with monarchmoney.com, type that in your browser. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You get you'll get half off your first year, 50% off your first year. Again, monarchmoney.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB with Monarch Money. All right, a couple more minutes here. We're not going to go our usual 30 minutes here because I know it's a weekend, and Packers are playing on Sunday, and I'm hoping you all have a chance to view this. And of course, I dropped my notes. I knew if I was standing up to do this video that I was going to drop my notes at some point, and I did. I'm doing it for the press box here at AmFam Field. By the way, our podcast, this is the point of the podcast where I say you get all our audio, wherever you download your audio podcasts. We're on all of these, like Google, Spotify, Apple, whatever platform you want to go to. We're the number one Brewers podcast on the internet because you great Brewer fans out there. So download the audio if you're already on watching us at YouTube. If you're listening to us on the Locked On Brewers podcast on the audio version, go to our growing YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers, usually in the Locked On Brewers studio, but we'll be doing the show out here all this week. And, of course, in Los Angeles later on in the week as well. We'll be doing 7 days a week, broadcasting for you, Locked On Brewers. So please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. And, by the way, I don't see my Twitter account up there, but I'm going to take care of that right now. See, my Twitter account is Chuck Freeman, Freimund. Hit me up. I got some messages. I know you guys have messaged me and all that, and I got back to you today on some of them. I will get back to you this weekend. I promise you. I may not get back right away, but I will. If you DM me, I will always get back on any Brewers questions that you got. Always great running into you. Ran into a lot of great fans walking into the ballpark earlier tonight. All right, Dodgers will be here Monday and Tuesday for games 1 and 2. And then Wednesday will be a travel day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be in Los Angeles. And then Monday and Tuesday back here. Obviously, some of those are TBA. We don't know. The only times of games that we know, Monday and Tuesday will be 7 o'clock starts, 7:08 starts. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we don't know game times yet. We'll obviously know that as the week goes on. There's the American League Championship Series as well. That starts tomorrow night between Seattle and Toronto. God, I was a kid when those two teams, it just hit me now. Those two teams were expansion teams when I was a kid. Just terrible in the first couple of years. But yeah, so we'll be here all week. Dodgers Monday. Who's going to start on Monday? Well, we don't know. I think there's going to be an unofficial workout tomorrow, and maybe we'll get some news, and that's the only way we get some news. Like today's starting pitcher, we didn't know about McGill until, 1 o'clock this afternoon, 2 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock, I think it was, when the news came down, and that Pomerantz was starting for the Cubs. Unconventional way, but I'm sure, I have a feeling Peralta's going, well, would they start Peralta? He pitched Wednesday. Okay, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On 4 days rest, I got to give Peralta to start on Monday. Got to come back with. I thought maybe Freddie would start a pitch in this game even tonight. I thought they would pitch him tonight. They had Uribe warming already in the 3rd inning tonight. Kenny was out there warming up as well. But I thought we asked Freddie after the game on Thursday in Chicago, Freddie, would you be able to pitch maybe out here? And he said, if he's called upon. But maybe Monday. Would they go with him on Monday? Would they go with Ashby? It wasn't all that great out here. Ashby's hasn't been all that good in the postseason. I'll say that. Not as good as he was during the regular season. So, obviously, the Brewers are 6-0 against the Dodgers this year, and I feel like that was the point of the season when we really took a notice of the Milwaukee Brewers. The Dodgers had a lackluster summer. I feel like they had a lackluster summer. I mean, they were swept in a series by the Pirates. They looked awful. The Brewers went in, they beat them 6-0 against them. The Dodgers have Freddie, Freeman, and obviously Shohei is going to be a problem. But I felt like the Dodgers kind of coasted all season long. But they're playing great right now. They took the 2 straight from Cincinnati in that opening round wild card series. And then they just came back and took Philly out. So the Dodgers are playing well, and toward the end of the season, they started playing a little bit better baseball. But I thought most of the summer, like in July and August, the Dodgers, I didn't think played very well, even in September. Looked like they were coasting a little bit. I don't know. But we'll get more into that coming up for Monday on that edition of Locked On Brewers. That'll be dropped overnight into Monday. But, guys, this was a celebration. I wanted to come to you and do a podcast, about a 20-minute podcast, and a great Brewers victory, beating the Cubs, going to the next round, the National League Championship Series. And for what? See, the fourth time in franchise history that they're going to the championship series. They've gone to 3 NLCSs now. And of course, in 1982, when they are in the American League, kids, they were in the American League a long time ago. They beat the Angels, which would have been right over there when the ballpark was right over there, the old county stadium. So, man, again, subscribe to us on YouTube because we're going to drop videos after maybe before the game, after the game, previewing it, post game it, 60-second videos, and of course after the game when we drop this. You'll get notified when we drop. All the content is all free. So we'll see you coming up on Monday morning, right? And we'll be previewing this Dodgers series and talking about the ins and outs, and maybe we'll know a starting pitcher by then. Have yourself a great rest of the weekend, everybody. My name is Chuck Freeman. Thanks for listening to Locked On Viewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We will see you all on Monday, everybody.